Have you finished with all your clients?
Yes. Gratefully so.
Have you started your video yet?
Mm-hmm. What?
I asked you what I was going to ask you.
What was you gonna ask?
No. No, I can't tell you.
You can't tell me. Hello. Hi.
Sebastian texted me.
Huh?
Sebastian texted me.
Who's Sebastian?
I don't know. Gotta look at his profile here.
Good evening. Hello. Hi. Hmm.
But yeah.
Hi. Thank you. It's big. Hello. Hello, everybody. All right. So I just wanted to kind of talk about. I just wanted to kind of talk about a phone call from a client from today. All right. So I had a phone call from a okay, let me start over. I have different kind of, make sure you guys can hear me. I say to you all, I have different kind of like readings and consultations and stuff like that, right? And so you guys, no matter how detailed, specific I think I am, for some people, they don't like to read. You gotta take your time and read and make sure you're choosing the right thing for you. So this young lady chose to have a conversation with me. And a conversation is really just that. We're kind of like talking, and I kind of give you like a little gems and stuff that you can do to kind of um, help your situation along and stuff like that. So that's what I thought that this was going to be like. So the lady calls, and I was like, oh, I called the lady, and I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? This is MLD. And she was like, oh, I thought I was going to have to call you. I thought you was going to be late. Well, I'm like, well, as stated on my website, sometimes I do run a little behind. But I'm going to make sure when I talk to you, you get the exact amount of time that you need for your particular situation. This isn't like a typical 9 to 5. I try to go through that spiel. And so she was like, okay. And I was like, okay, so just tell me, like, what is this call concerning? How can I help you? She was like, well, it's concerning my boyfriend. And I was like, oh, you probably should have got a love consultation, not a regular just conversation with me, but whatever. So she was one of them people that talk a lot, but she doesn't listen. And she talking so fucking damn. I almost didn't even cuss. My daughter sitting over here. I almost didn't cuss, baby. I almost didn't. I almost didn't cuss. All right. Anyway, so she she went to telling me her spiel, her story about her guy, and I was just like, okay. So literally the first 15 minutes of the conversation, um, she was just like talking and talking and talking. And I don't ever stop you guys because I want you to get it out so we can kind of move forward, blah, 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 blah. So after 15 minutes of talking, and she was like, so do you think you can get us back together? And I'm like, well, baby girl, I kind of like lost track of all the stuff that she was saying because it was just so much. And I was like, she was like, well, he just don't know how to handle stress, and I want him to change because when you love somebody, you're supposed to change for them. And I was like, well, that ain't true. I was like, that ain't true. And she was like, well, thanks. I was like, that's not true. And I was like, you shouldn't want somebody to change because they love you. You should want them to change to just be a better person, period. Come back here. Prada, I'm looking at you. And I was like, so you shouldn't want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't want somebody to change for you. You should want somebody to change because that's what they want to do so that they could be a better person. Now, if you benefit from that change, that's great. But I wouldn't want nobody to necessarily change for me because my concern is would it stick? So that's pretty much what I'm telling her. I'm just like, you know, sis, you probably, like, I wouldn't want him to change. I would probably try to find out what his root issue is. And I was like, that means you probably need to listen when he talking. Because a lot of times in relationships, we're so busy telling the dude what we want from him that we're not listening to what he's saying. Because listening to what he's saying, that better puts you in a position where you can understand him a little bit better. And if you want to do some type of work on him, I'm not saying, you know, whatever, but at least it lets you know how the opponent of the relationship, like, it puts you, you know the casualty of war, you know the fucking rules to this battle or to this game or something like that, right? So she was like, well, we really don't talk about anything personal. And I was like, well, how long have you been with him? And she was like, for a year. And I'm like, okay. So if you know he gets stressed out and he start going off on you and y'all arguing about everything, and I was like, is it his job? What do he do? Well, he has a very stressful job. And I was like, well, what is it? And she was like, oh, he's a, what did she tell me? He's uh, girl, look, ain't that a red bird right there?
Mm-hmm.
Like a red robin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look. Hi, Red Robin.
You're kind of fat and cute.
Oh, look. You come to hear my story, too?
You're like, girl, give me the tea.
Talk about, come on, tell me what that happened.
Look, go ahead, pump me up.
So, anyway, I was like, uh-oh, what I do? Oh, shit. Oh, I got stuck. What the freak? You can still hear me? I'm like, motherfuck. Why won't fucking work? So anyway, maybe it'll catch up, maybe it won't. So anyway, I told her you probably need to just like have a conversation with him. You probably need to just find out what the core root of what his issue is. Why my shit won't work?